Great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about apprenticeships and just give it kind of a general one-on-one on what apprenticeships are and how you can take advantage of them as one part of a solution for workforce issues. So Tom, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. So there are 5 parts to registered apprenticeships, and this is all registered through the Department of Labor. The one thing that you need to know about apprenticeships is that an apprentice cannot be an apprentice without a business. They have to be employed. They're a regular employee like they are any of your other employees. So as an employer, you can hire, you can fire, you can write people up, you can promote them. They are an employee. So anything that you do with a regular employee, you can do with an apprentice. So that's number one. They have to be employed in order to be an apprentice. The second piece of it is that they have to have a mentor available. So if you're going to hire a machinist apprentice, for example, you're going to want somebody one-on-one ratio from the Department of Labor that you can have as their mentor. And the mentor doesn't mean that they have to follow them or shadow them the entire time they're working, but somebody that can just kind of monitor how they're doing, identify when they're meeting certain competencies, and sign off when they can see that they can do certain things on the job. The third part of it is that there are required training hours that an apprentice must do. So 144 hours of in-classroom or online training is required by the Department of Labor for apprenticeships. In addition, there's 2,000 hours per year that they need to do on the job so they can show and learn the things they're learning in the classroom that they can put on the job at that point in time. And then the other part of apprenticeships is that they need to be compensated for their growth. So if, for example, you have a machinist that you normally would hire in at $20 an hour, you can hire them in lower than that as an apprentice, but then you must compensate them along the way for their growth. So there must be stair steps and raises along the way as they're showing their growth. And then the last part of it is that they do get a credential from the Department of Labor when they have completed the apprenticeship. So those are the 5 parts of a registered apprenticeship. There are probably 2 things on there that you did not see that we get a lot of questions about, and it's because it's not required by the Department of Labor for an employer to pay for the classes that they're in, and it's not required by an employer to pay wages while apprentices are in classes. But we would tell you as Kirkwood, and we're working with you, that those are 2 things that we would strongly encourage employers participating in an apprenticeship to think about, to help pay for the wages while individuals are learning or in the training, and then also to pay for the classes that individuals would have to take. The Department of Labor, for an apprenticeship, you have to be on a list of a registered apprenticeship job. So you're not going to see jobs on there like attorneys. You're not going to see things on there like waitresses. They have to be approved and put on a list. But you can see on that last bullet point, and this is an old slide, about 6 months old. So 6 months ago, there were over 1,300 positions that are out there already as approved Department of Labor occupations. Is probably much more now. And even if it's not on the list, we can get you on the list. There's a process that we have to go through that's determined by the Department of Labor, but it is something that's available. If an occupation is on the list, the Department of Labor identifies how long that apprenticeship is good for. So it's either going to be like a 1-year apprenticeship, like our CNA apprenticeship, or it could be up to 6 years long. So the Department of Labor kind of dictates that, and then we work with the employers to figure out what that looks like. All right, so what's Kirkwood's role in this whole thing? Well, when you have an apprenticeship, you must have an entity that is considered the sponsor. The sponsor is the individual or the entity that's responsible for reporting the information back to the Department of Labor, filling out the paperwork, all of those types of things. So an organization like Kirkwood can be the sponsor, or an employer can be the sponsor. So when an employer is the sponsor, we would love as Kirkwood to help provide that 144 hours of each year of training. And that can be a credit program. So you can send somebody through our program just like a 2-year student. We can have non-credit courses like OSHA classes, or maybe a shorter term welding class or a leadership class. We can put those as part of the apprenticeship. Or we can have a customized class through our corporate training department. So if an employer sponsors an apprenticeship, Kirkwood's role would be the RTI, so the related training provider for that. Or Kirkwood can also sponsor an apprenticeship. When we sponsor an apprenticeship, what that means is we have an apprenticeship program, and any employer can join that apprenticeship program, and maybe you only have 1 apprentice, and you can send that apprentice through. So any business can join the program in that way. There are no requirements on how many apprentices you have. You only use it when you need it. So maybe you have 2 apprentices just this year. You don't have any apprentices next year, 3 the year after that. So as you need it, you would send people along. Right now, Kirkwood has 7 different apprenticeships available. You see them listed here. We started about 4 years ago with the construction technologist apprenticeship. And then that quickly followed with the CNA apprenticeship. And you can see there's lots of other apprenticeships that we've gotten on board as well. I want to say CNA right now is our most popular. We probably have about 120 apprentices that have gone through that program in the last 3 years, and about 17 different long-term care facilities and hospitals that have joined that. And I think Johnson County has about 7 of those 17 employers. So how do you start an apprentice? Maybe this is something you're interested in. Maybe this is something that you thought about for a while. I know for me personally, I had to hear the spiel about apprenticeships about 8 times before I really understood it, because there are a lot of moving pieces to it. So the first step is to become a registered apprenticeship employer. And you can do that by becoming your own apprenticeship sponsor, or you can do that by becoming a Kirkwood Consortium employer. So even though you didn't see the apprenticeship that you're thinking about on that list on the previous slide, let's say you want to start a welding apprenticeship and you didn't see that, we can still help you do that. And Kirkwood could still be the sponsor for that if you didn't want to deal with being the sponsor on your own. So we'd love to have a conversation with you about that. There is no cost to join a Kirkwood apprenticeship as a consortium employer. We would just simply add you to the list. And then there's some responsibilities and things that we would talk about on that end. Then you would enroll in apprentices as the second step. You can do that by having current employees that maybe you want to skill upgrade and move to a different position. And in that case, if you were part of a Kirkwood sponsored apprenticeship, you would just have your employees go through the training program that's already developed. The other part of it is maybe you don't have anybody currently, but you have open positions that you want to fill with apprenticeships. So we at Kirkwood are always marketing our apprenticeship programs that we have open, and we will receive applications for individuals that want to become an apprentice. For those employers that have signed on as part of our apprenticeship program, we will forward all the applications of individuals that have signed up and said, yep, I want to be a diesel mechanic apprentice. We will forward those applications on to our employers that are part of the apprenticeship program. And then at that point, it's up to the employer what they want to do with it. They can interview them. They can look at the application and say, no, this person isn't for me. But if they interview them, they can decide to hire them and put them into the apprenticeship program. And then the third step is just allow your apprentice to learn. That sometimes can be very difficult for all of our employers who are already strapped for employees. But we want to make sure that those apprentices have the ability to attend the classes as needed so they can continue to go through their apprenticeship program. And then so the last thing, just to get started, even if you're not sure and you're like, we have this area, it's hard to fill, we have some people that we want to talk to about apprenticeship, give us a call. Here's our apprenticeship number. We do have an email, apprenticeships@kirkwood.edu. We'd love to talk to you. You can visit our website. We have some videos out there with some of our employers that have talked about the success that they've had with apprenticeships. There's a lot of data out there about the retention level of individuals when they go through an apprenticeship program, because they have that level of investment. They know the employer's invested in them. So if this is something that you're interested in just learning more about, there's absolutely no commitment when we come out and talk to you. Like I said, it took me about 8 times to hear it before I understood it and became invested myself. So if you just want to learn more, give us a call. We'd be happy to talk to you about that.